You're listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast, where you'll learn actionable steps to help you find your first or next real estate deal. We'll deep dive into current strategies and show you how to become a deal finder in your market today.
So today we're going to talk about property management for investors. And just so I know who I'm talking to, who in here owns rental house right now? At least one. Okay, awesome. Who in here manages a rental house for someone else? Okay, couple, good. Who in here wants to own a rental house? All right, awesome. So I think we're talking to the right people. If you didn't raise your hand, I'm not sure if you're in the right room. You good? We're good. Okay. I think everybody raised their hand at least once. So what I want to talk about today, and kind of the goal for today, is to go through strategy of being a good rental property manager, being a good property manager, the procedures that you would want to take to implement, and the processes, the risks that you might come across, and then what it looks like to actually hire a professional for that. Are y'all cool if we do that? All right. So it will help you, if you do have questions, to let me know what questions you have, right? So if I hit on something, you're like, oh, wait a second, this happened to me or whatever. That's okay. Let me know. Raise your hand, shout them out. Be happy to answer questions. It might, if you have the question, someone else might have the same, okay? But this is going to be our goal for today. This is what we're going to go through. And again, this isn't everything for property management. We have a couple of licensed property managers in here, and they're going to say, this ain't it. And I know that, but we got to start somewhere. Y'all cool with that? Everybody on board? Awesome. If I forget something big, Bishop will back there will yell at me, right? All right, good. Yeah. All right. So why in the world are we talking about this? So our history goes back. My career started in hospitality, and come to find out, hospitality in hotels specifically has very similar goals as property management, and very similar processes and procedures, and the whole business is very similar. How? Well, I'll tell you. So in hospitality, we were managing a hotel or hotels, and who was in hotels? People. That's true. Rochelle's back there. Bishop. Actually, I got a lot of hospitality people in here, right? Who else worked in hospitality at some point? Anybody else? We got a few. So people, we had, what do we call them there? Guests, right? We had our guests. Well, in landlord life, we call them our tenants, right? Or our pains in the what, you know what, right? So tenants and guests, very similar. However, there's a lot of property management companies that don't treat them the same. And I'm going to talk to you guys about that. What does that look like? If you actually treat them like guests, valued guests. I think about Ritz-Carlton, My Pleasure, the how can we serve you attitude, you actually might end up with better tenants. And so the money breaks down almost the same. You want to rent out your rooms. If we had 100% occupancy in a hotel, we were super happy. If we have 100% occupancy in our properties, we are super happy. Okay? Very similar. P&L shakes out the same. So we did that. I did that for years. And then 14 years ago, I told you guys we got our first rental property. And so we've been managing rental property since that time. And in that time, we've got 14 years of making mistakes, learning along the way, doing some good things, but doing some dumb things. There's probably some things that these licensed PMs would tell me I could go to jail for, or at least get a fine for. I'm pretty sure I stayed away from most of that because of my background in hospitality. So I had a lot of kind of like the education of the legal aspect of this, and we'll jump into that. Right now we have 94 units that we rent out. We own more than that because some are being flipped or rehabbed, but that's kind of where we are now. We've sold over 100 that we had rented out. Okay, so that we bought them, sell them, and keep them for a little while. In our years of doing this, we've interviewed and hired quite a few property management companies. Right now, we actually have like 4 that we are actively working with. So what I want to try to give you guys and show you is that there's different ways of doing this. And we have found through trial and error that there are some good ways of doing it. And I hope that you can, from being here today, we can help you skip over the stupid stuff. Does that make sense? Y'all cool with that? Good. And again, if you have more questions, be happy to grab Nicole. You can get on my calendar. We can figure out what specific issues you might have. So, all right. So my goal, again, is to save you time, energy, and money today because we've already spent all that over the last 14 years. So why property management matters? Can anybody answer that? Why is Yeah. Property management. It's kind of in the name, right? You want to manage that property to the best of your ability. Good management gives you cash flow. That's kind of how it breaks down. If you think about it holistically, that good property management makes better investments, you might actually invest in property management a little bit differently. So property management is actually the most important thing for your rental house, for your investment portfolio. Guys, you got the stock market, right? You've got Coca-Cola stock. You can go buy that. Well, if you are invested in Coca-Cola stock, guess what they have? Managers. They have people that are paid to take care of that asset, to grow it, and to hopefully pay you a little dividend, right? Same thing with your rental property. It is your asset. Why not have a manager for it, right? And it could be you. We'll talk about that. But good property management is going to increase your cash flow through reduced vacancy. Y'all, 1 month of vacancy is 10%-ish of your revenue. Guys, if Coca-Cola called and had an investor call, and Warren Buffett's on there, and he said, hey guys, we're vacant this month, 10% off top line revenue for Coca-Cola. Do you think those investors would be happy? Should you be happy with a vacant property for 30 days? No. If you treat it like that, 10% off top line revenue. If you actually digest that, you will respect and treat your property management with the respect that it needs. All right. So think about that. Really pay attention to that. What are the numbers? What's the impact of bad management? So when you can minimize expenses, tenant satisfaction. Why is tenant satisfaction important? Do I? Yeah. You want them to stay because vacancy destroys your cash flow. Okay? So when you have good management, you can have happy tenants. And the crazy thing is that happy tenants will actually pay more because they're happy and they like the service. And you know what? It's a place to live. And if you take care of them, they're going to want to stay. And then lower maintenance costs. Okay? So that's how you help with your cash flow. How about building wealth? Building wealth through real estate investing is a tried and true thing that's been preached for years. Did y'all know that that's accessible to everybody in this room? Do y'all believe that? Does everybody believe that? I can't hear you. I need to hear this. Yes. Okay. Y'all, it's been talked about on late night TV for as long as I can think of, right? Y'all have seen it, although probably not anymore. I don't watch late night TV. I don't have time, and the kids make me tired. I go to sleep so early. I can't do it. But building wealth through real estate is it's the American way of doing it because it's accessible to everybody in this room. We have lenders right back there that will actually show you how to do it because they get paid when you do it. And I can tell you what, they want to get paid. They like it. And so can you. So faster wealth building through good management because you're protecting your asset. That property is going to appreciate. It's going to get higher. The value is going to go up because you're taking care of it and because your tenant's in there, right? These assets are valued based on the income. So the debt pay down, again, as you pay down your debt, your wealth gets bigger by that amount. If you pay down $1,000 of debt, guess what happens to your wealth? Goes up by $1,000. Your net worth goes up by $1,000. Who in here tracks their net worth? I love it. If y'all want to know who's successful now or on their way to success, look at the people who just had their hands up. If you're not tracking your net worth, you don't know if you're actually getting more successful, if you're going in the right direction. Right? If your net worth goes down, you need to change things. If you don't know that it went down, how do you know to change? Y'all hear me? You good? Yes. All right. So paying down debt allows you to build wealth faster. So good management helps you do these two things: increase cash flow, increase net worth. And that's the goal of rental property investing right there. All right. So what does bad management do? Well, it's kind of like the opposite. Now we're talking really, hard stuff here, guys. All right, so bad management, well, it takes away your cash flow. Little or no cash flow means little or no fun, no freedom. You're not paying your bills, it gets difficult, all right? We are buying, and some of you in this room, I know some of our deal partners are buying properties from landlords that simply had bad management. Who's seen properties out there that you're like, why the heck is this so cheap? Right? Rochelle, that one you sent me today, don't scream it out because I need it. But you know what I'm talking about. It's just bad management. That landlord can't pay the mortgage anymore because it's vacant. And it's vacant, and now they can't afford to fix it up because they can't pay the mortgage, so they can't fix it up, and so they can't get a new tenant. It's a downward spiral. Okay? Expenses start to add up. Tenants turn over. If it's not a good property, if that tenant's just there because this is the only thing available and it's the cheapest, they're not going to stay. Again, vacancy, maintenance, it all piles up. Wealth destruction. And this is the big one. When your net worth starts going down because of real estate, you're in a bad deal or you've got bad management. Okay? So we look at asset value can actually decrease. Has anyone ever heard that real estate always goes up? Yeah, it's okay. I've heard it. Yeah, real estate never goes down. Well, over long periods, 100 years, 30 years, yeah, the land value is going up. But that property, that house value, it can go down in a hurry. If a tree fell in it, it went down. I mean, just kind of to be real and to be like current. But if you had bad tenants, Ryan, I don't want to pick on you, but that one in Atlanta, the value at that moment when you got those people out was probably lower than when they got in, right? No, I'm sorry. You weren't here when we talked about it. I'm sorry. We had somebody. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to have a prayer for you after. We're going to lay hands on Ryan after this. So, yeah. And I don't want to pick on him. It wasn't bad management. It's bad policy in the district or the county where he was. You just couldn't get him out because of policy. But the value can go down of your property for bad management. Okay. And this is a big one. Our licensed people in here will get this, is the legal liabilities. Y'all, if you're managing it poorly and it becomes a safety hazard and you have a loose step and a tenant falls and breaks their ankle, guess who's responsible? Yeah, that lawsuit is going to say the property management name, but it's also going to say the property owner's name. And you're going to be in court defending. Ask me how I know, because I know. We've been there. And we were able to not lose that. Well, I say we not lose. They paid her something. But we didn't lose because we had proper management. We had records of when those steps were repaired and what the step looked like before they moved in and when they told us about it. We had records of what happened. And that's proper management. Okay? Bad management is how you lose those types of things. Okay? Y'all cool? Does everybody get the good and bad? Good versus evil? Huh? Yeah, we're good. Okay. All right, so here's some of the basics. We're going to go through these. And again, this isn't going to cover everything, but I think I'm going to hit on enough to kind of get you to understand that if you're doing this right now, to make sure you're checking all these. If you're about to start doing this, that you implement all of these. And then if you are hiring somebody to do this, that you check all of these, okay? That you make sure they're doing it, all right? Tenant screening. Applications for tenants. Is this a new thing? Is it new? Does anybody not do applications? Okay. Everyone fills out an application. There's a lot of reasons for that, but just do it, okay? And then what they say on the application better be real. If it's not, they're not a tenant. You do not accept them. Okay, that is the number one test. That's the first test. If they lie or fib or like forget where they last lived, that means they did not fill it out and they're gone. That is your first test. With a deposit. Why do we get a deposit with this application? Anybody? That's it. Make them serious. To make sure they're serious, give the money back to them. I don't care. It's not about making money. This is not some landlord scheme to make $25 every time somebody fills out a piece of paper. No. If they're willing to send you $25, that means they're at least serious enough to go through the process. Okay? You could ask for 25 and literally send it right back to them. I don't care. But get a deposit so you know they're serious, so you know you're not wasting your time. Okay? Verify credit. I put this on here, set a minimum and stick to it. This is where people get in trouble. This is what scares me with people doing it on their own, like doing property management without a company or a license or without going through a course to do it, is that if you do something for one person, say this person's credit is 600 and I let them in, but the next person's credit is 650, but I don't like what hat they're wearing, and I tell them no, now you're violating law. And does anybody know what law that is? Yep. It's Fair Housing. Fair Housing Act. Basically not one you want to be on the news for. Okay? Wait, Bishop, am I wrong?
First offense is a $50,000
Ooh, I got heartburn when you said that. Ouch. Yeah. So $50,000 fine for the first offense of Fair Housing Act. Who wants to go for that one? No. And guys, it's just not fair, right? So you want to be fair and be honest and upfront with people and say, here's our policy. Whether you show it to them or not, you need to have it written down of how you treat the credit, how you treat the application, and you stick with it with everybody. Okay? Y'all cool on that? Check the rental history. How many people forget to do that? Or they're like, this guy was fine, I'll do that. They come into this room and they're crying around the table. I let this guy in. He had a cool car. Everything was fine. I didn't check his history. Now I'm filling out an eviction and he's got 4 of them in the last 2 years. Right? Happens all the time. They are literally the bad tenants are just going around trying to find some landlord that won't check. Don't be that guy or gal. Don't be the one that doesn't check. Just check it. It's super easy. If there's no evictions, cool. They're in. Or not in. They pass that piece. Verify application or verify the employment. Really, again, you're just verifying the application. Like, I don't care where they work. You want to verify, and I'll get back to you. You want to make sure their income is 3 times the rental rate. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb. That's kind of the mortgage companies will do when they want to see if you can qualify for a mortgage. So if it works for them, it works for us. Cool. Yeah.
How do you go about checking?
It's online. I think we use a service through the software we use, so they do it. But I think it's the magistrate. Has anybody ever done it by hand? The magistrate court for evictions. I think it's magistrate. Yeah. Yeah, if you have a Appfolio is what we use, but they do it for you. Any other questions? Tenant screening? This is probably the most important piece, y'all, because you put a bad tenant in, what happens? It don't matter how good your management is, they're going to screw it up. Okay? So spend time on the front to make sure you're at least tipping the scales in your favor. Just because they look good on paper, everything works, it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. That's where your good management comes into play. Yeah, Gal.
I was going to say, too, that you got to be cognizant of Zillow and other platforms where you allow tenants to apply and get screened automatically by the service, because there's a lot of scammers out there that can easily get in your property, and everything the address is talking about, they will meet the criteria, but they're basically scams. And therefore, that's why we don't allow our potential tenants to apply through Zillow. We use our own. We also use a folio, and we still call and verify that all of the information is correct. So the Zillow applications, if they
It went through Zillow app.
they're in it very crafted too. So they're gonna give you supporting documentation that looks like a pay stub, and you're like, hey, addresses, everything match, everything that is just fabricated. If you don't call and check, once they get in the house, it's a 9. It's a 9. It's happened to me. A lot of Western friends, that's what I'm saying. You gotta Zillow, don't enable that. Zillow is a great backend to put your property out there, but it's not a good property to scrape tax.
And I had my setup on my old pay with thick ass grit shit, right? Fake.
Yeah.
Heck about that social. All right, you have to go through all of that to be able to pull the great score. So this is this said.
Yeah. Nope.
You find I remember your post on social media. I'm like, yo, like he sent out like more like, hey, I just had like 3 people last week with this scam.
Yeah. We don't. Along those lines, I would say again with the legality of it all, when you use a third party to qualify somebody, now they've done something different than what you've asked other people to do. So if you stick with it, this person goes through the same process that everybody goes through. It'll help you eliminate scammers, because if you make it like an extra hoop for a scammer, they'll move on because they're going to try to get through the easy way. It also keeps you on the up and up for any fair housing or any kind of stuff like that. So Zillow and all of these, there's going to be more than just Zillow. There's a few more now, but they make it easy. They want to make it quick and everybody happy, but ultimately they're just looking for $1, right? And so if they can convince you to use their service, it helps them, but it's not necessarily to your best interests. All right. So, hopefully that scared everybody enough right there, didn't it? On tenant screening. All right. Along the lines, we're kind of in that legal area right now. By the way, let me just throw the disclaimer out. I am not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. I'm not a CPA. Everything I'm teaching y'all is our experience to share. This is what has happened, what we do, what we work with right now. It may not work for you. And you could actually go broke and lose all your money and live on the street because you did this. So just be aware there's risks in real estate, okay? So the legal documents, the application, we went through that. Everybody fills it out, okay? The lease, you have to have, like, don't just go buy a lease from Zillow. Yeah, Zillow has a lease, right? What's the one? LegalZoom. Yes, they have a lease. It's fine. But y'all, again, remember the asset that you're protecting? $200,000. Most of the houses right now are $200,000. Maybe you can still get a cheap one for $150,000. But $200,000 asset that you're trying to protect, you can just call Jim Hendersman, call one of these attorneys. There's a few tied with our group. Let them just review it at least, or let them give you theirs, okay? It won't cost you that much money to get one lease and get started, okay? It will save you so much hassle, so much headache, because I'll tell you what you'll learn the first time you go to eviction court is that lease won't hold up and you don't have a leg to stand on, and the judge will just say, all right, when do you want to leave, Mr. Tenant that's not paying rent? And that tenant will say, I'll take 60 days, right? So make sure that lease is all you have. That's a contract. That's all you have. It's a piece of paper. Spend a little bit of money to get it the right way, okay? There's so much in the lease. How many pages is our lease? 9? It's from Appfolio. It just keeps going. It's electronic signature, so it's not that bad. Maybe it's not 9. I haven't printed it out. Lead-based paint disclosure. Who are my real estate agents in here that have done this? Yeah, lead-based paint. You're doing that because that's part of the law of when people rent houses, buy houses. You need to let them know that potentially if you eat the paint, there might be lead in it. I don't know why. Just do it. You just print it out online and give it to them, okay? But keeping up, the reason I put that in here is keeping up with these types of forms that the government wants you to put out. They want you to have signed, all right? Keeping up with the laws and stuff like that. Lease termination, y'all, there's actually a form for that. If they move out, it's a contract. They had a contract. If they terminate early, they might still owe you money. And you might be able to go after them for that money if you want. If you terminate, well, you better get that in writing because otherwise they might come after you, right? So if there's a lease termination, y'all, you can't just be flippant with it and say, all right, you want to move out? Great, leave and we'll call it quits. No, this is a real contract. This is, again, a huge asset you're protecting. So do these things. Eviction forms, of course, like I said, the first time you try to evict somebody, the county is going to say, all right, fill out these 10 forms and come back, whatever it is. You can actually hire a lawyer to do this for you. And there are some people in town, just property managers, I guess, but they'll just do the eviction process for you because they go to court all the time. So you could do that if you're managing it yourself. The eviction process can be a learning curve. You can kind of get taken advantage of. So be careful with that. Any questions on legal docs? Cool. All right. Rent collection. All right, here's the fun part. Who wants to collect rent? I do. All right, who wants to make rent collection super easy? Yes. Who wants to make it automatic? Yes. Who wants to make it fun for your tenants? Yes. I don't know if that's possible, but I just want them to do it. I just want to incentivize them to do it. And so that's where we have a system. You can have a discount system or like a bonus system. Hey, if you pay on the first, we'll send you a pizza. I don't know. I don't care. Like, have a system that makes it easy and take out all the friction, all the things that can get in the way of your tenant paying you rent. Okay? I don't encourage this, but a lot of the old school landlords on the first, they're in their car driving around and they are picking up like the mailman. They go and knock on the door or it's sitting out there waiting for them. I do not encourage that. I think that's a terrible idea for the business that we wanted to create, which would be freedom and like not doing that. But that's the point of that. The reason that those old school landlords did that was because they knew that to get that money, they had to take every barrier out of the way. Okay, so online systems are the best way to do it now. Auto draft, ACH, incentivize them to pay on time or early, and you can make the rent collection a little bit easier for you. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen. Having rules and enforcing them. So if you say rent is due, it's late by the 5th and they pay you on the 6th, what do? Late fee. Do you say, oh, you were close? No, because close 6th is going to be closed on the 7th, and then it's closed on the 8th, and then eventually it's like closed on the 20th. So have your rules and enforce them, That's good management. That's going to teach the tenants what to do, what you expect, okay? And when you do it across the board, it's fair for everybody and everybody's happy. Now, if your tenant gets paid on the 10th every month and they say, "Can I please pay you on the 11th every month?" Are you okay with that? Yeah. You would do exactly that. You would change the lease. You would change the contract that you sign. And guess what that creates? A happy tenant. You're providing that service for the tenant that they probably won't find anywhere else, especially not the big landlords, but with other landlords in town. You think that might help them stay with you long term? Yes. And if your mortgage company is like, "Hey, you owe us on the 15th," well, if you get it on the 11th, you can pay them by the 15th, right? Or however that has to work for you. Fees, support services, and add-ons. This is where we talk about wealth generation and net worth, and all the value of your asset is measured by the income it produces. And in single-family properties, this is kind of hard. This isn't typically done because you have an appraisal, a comp appraisal. But in multifamily, this is how you value it. And so extras, fees, support, add-ons will actually increase the value of your property and your net worth. So what are those? Y'all shout out. So what are some of the fees or services that you've seen before? Pet fee? Is that what you said? Laundry fee? Yep. What else? Lawn? Cutting the grass for them? Yep. What else? Quarterly inspection fee? Yep. Appliance rental? Yep. What's the one? The air filter thing? Yeah, so a benefit package where they get air filters delivered every month or every quarter. Yeah.
Loyalty for you pay on time, you get points to redeem to like get parts and
Yeah. And
they you that shit.
Yeah.
There's insurance all that.
Oh yeah, that was the big one. Renter's insurance. Did y'all know that you can actually sell renter's insurance? I mean, you're not the insurer, but you connect them and you can get paid for it. Yeah. It's just like a commission kind of deal, right? They buy it through you and then you can get some of that. Guess where that goes in your books? To the bottom. Right to the bottom line. What? Mm-hmm.
Will the property managers take the profits from those add-ons? Are they capital landlord? Was that all included into the vicinity? Sure.
So that is a great question. That is something that y'all in here in this room know to ask. Because there might be landlords managing your property right now that are charging and getting paid for renter's insurance and you have no idea. And who's getting it? Property manager. If you're an owner and you got somebody managing your property for you, these are ideas you should be bringing to them. Hey, where's that pet fee go? Does the property manager keep it? Does it get split? Because there's, if the manager is working to get it done, they might be split. Something like that. I mean, I would imagine there's probably some split of some kind of commission type thing. Yeah.
Normally, what you want to make sure is that the property management agreement, all of those things are laid out. So for some things, with our landlords, we do 50-50. And that makes it fair across the board, and they're okay with that. Because it's zero effort to them, they're making on the up and up. So they're like cowards.
Yeah.
On the agreement, that's what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, we've interviewed and dealt with probably at least a dozen property managers here in town. Everybody's a little different. So what does it work for you? How does it work for you? Add-ons, I mean, you could keep going. So where you could take this is a fully furnished property. And now they pay you for the service of the cable, power, water, all that, right? So you could take it all the way up And every add-on, every service that you provide, that can be money brought to the bottom line of your asset. Does that make sense? I hope that this helps y'all think a little bit outside the box. It's not just about $1,000 in rent, 10% to the property manager, and I get $900. Yeah, that's where you start. But guys, if this is your asset that you're trying to grow and cultivate and have for generational net worth, you got to be thinking a little bit more than just that. Okay? All right. It's a business, no emotions. That's it. Y'all, you can't have your emotions involved. Did I spell that right? That looks weird. So, no emotions when it comes to rent due. I know it hurts, and this is why Michelle knows, and Bishop, this is why I don't collect rent, because I'm a soft-hearted fella, and I just go back to the old days of hospitality where you're always right, the guest is always right. How can I help you? I'll discount your room rate. I'm sorry we messed up. No, we don't do that. Okay, you can't do that. There's legal implications if you do that in fair housing. Okay, so it's here's the rent, here's the contract. You got to pay it. You got to pay it on time. Okay, so that's the deal with no emotions, and we'll get into more of that later, I think. So, tenant services. So we talked about rent collection. That helps us, owners and managers. That helps us. How do we help the tenant? Well, that easy payment portal, tenants love it. Why? Because they can log in just like they do their bank account, their power bill, everything else, and they can see where they stand. So give that to them at their fingertips. If they know where they stand and they know the rent's coming up and they know they're late, they know they owe a bill, it's going to make it easier for them to pay you. If you're just sending mail out or not telling them at all where they stand, well, it's going to be difficult for them to pay you. Okay. Online maintenance. This is huge. Making maintenance requests easier than paying rent, because a maintenance request that goes unanswered or unrequested can cost you a lot more than that 1 month's rent. Y'all hear me? You want them to be able to just, as quick as they can send a tweet, they should have that request in. Because if it's just a leaky toilet that goes through a weekend, you might have to do a whole new bathroom. We had our guys over in Olympia, I probably told this story before, where they had a party over. They didn't tell me it was a party. They said it was just the three of us. And they were watching the Carolina-Missouri game when Connor Shaw came back from 4 touchdowns down into double overtime. And we won. It was amazing. And I know that they all jumped at the same time and landed at the same time, because they called me and said there's a little dip in the floor. And this was Thanksgiving week, right? So it was Saturday. They called on Sunday. I was like, hey, I'm out of town for Thanksgiving. I'll get to it. They called back 2 days later and said, you know what? You might want to come on over. This dip looks like it's getting worse. And so here I am. This is a maintenance request. Gone a couple of days. I get over there, and this is a literal bowl, and they've broken 6 or 7 joists, and the whole floor is laying on the ground. The only thing holding it together is because it was built at the same time as this building, and this wood is nailed together, and it's hard as a rock. And so the hardwood floor was holding that whole floor together. And that's a maintenance request that I wasn't really good back then. I let it go way too long. But if you let those things go, that could have been dangerous. And I'm thinking about the legal ramifications. Had somebody fallen through or stepped through, whatever. So making maintenance requests easier than paying the rent. Hospitality wins. I think we talked about guest service, tenant services. Treating them like your guest in your property will help them feel like they have a piece of that property. They're a little bit of an owner. They are going to treat it nicer, take care of it, because you are treating them better. So providing services, helping them get connected to the utilities, whatever that is, right? Being kind, just being flat out kind. And if they need something, if they call you, just answer the phone. And if you can't help, you can't help, but be nice about it. Okay. So then we go into the fees, support services, and add-ons. We just had that a second ago, right? That was for us. Well, for the tenant services, there's things that they actually want. there might be things that they want to pay you for. We talked about the student rentals and student housing. They don't want to pay for the cable bill separate. They want just one bill to pay. And if you could provide that, they'll pay you a premium. All these student housing apartment complexes on Bluff Road and Shop Road, they all were built saying, hey, just pay us one big check every month, and we'll pay your power bill, we'll pay your cable bill. Okay? And you think it was just a wash, or did they make a little extra? They made a little extra. It's great. There are things that your tenants right now, if you have tenants, they want. So how do you find out what those are? Any ideas? Ask them. Oh, that's a novel idea. If you are communicating and you have good hospitality and they like you and you like them and everything's business, we're all friendly, you can ask them, hey, is there anything you need? Anything to make your life easier? If you made that tenant's life easier, do you think they would stay longer? Yeah. You think they might pay you a little bit more? Yeah. Treat it like a business. All right? Be flexible but consistent. You got to have rules. You got to have consistency, okay? That's number one. You can't break the rules. Again, fair housing, everything. Be fair, be consistent. You can be flexible on what those rules are, but when you set them, stick with them, okay? And if you give them a little bit of rope, say, hey, this is a one-time thing. This can't happen again, and you write it up. We always talk about that, right? Like, if you're going to give them a break, write it up. Say, all right, you owe us $50 late fee. This is your first time being late. We're going to write it up. We're going to put it on the bill. And we're going to say, hey, this is a one-time freebie or one-time discount, okay? So anything like that, make sure you write it up. All right, security deposits. I have to put this in here because I feel like if you're self-managing, you probably are doing this wrong. Anybody here agree? You probably don't know that you're doing it wrong, so you wouldn't agree. But the professionals are agreeing with me. Because security deposits, they cannot go in the same account. If they gave you an $800 security deposit, that has to be in its own bank account by itself. Taken care of by itself. You can't spend it and then pay them back later. It has to be sitting there by itself and ready for them to get it back. Assume that you'll have to repair more than what that security deposit is going to be. Just assume it. If they leave the house and it's perfect, great, you win. And you're lucky. But just assume that security deposit is not going to cover the move-out fee. If you assume that it's going to cost you money when they move out, will that help you treat them a little bit better and help them stay a little longer? Yes. Do we have to swallow our pride sometimes and just be nice? Yes. But do we break the rules? No. Good. Y'all are learning. I love it. Yeah. I don't think there's a law on the max on the deposit. Do you have an answer for that?
That the clause for the property to non-interest shop.
For the deposit, no. It can be interest bearing, but it has to be, what do they call it?
Have something in Northeast oriented that they have to write keep that at first, but we're signing that curve.
And then you have to collect it, or you have to take it out at a reasonable rate. Yeah. No, I want the interest. If I'm managing it, it's not much. You just document it, right? If you don't want to do the hassle of documenting and stuff, yeah, then just put it non-interest bearing. Yeah. Yeah.
So
trust account. Yeah. Trust account. So I don't think there's a cap on security deposit. I think that's a market thing where it's supply and demand. You want the house occupied. A lot of times I'm like, if we're going to do any negotiations, I would just tell them, I don't care about the security deposit. Just pay full rent. Because again, where's the value of the property? Comes from that monthly rent. The security deposit doesn't give me much other than a couple $100 in a year or two. So I would just say, hey, give me full rent and we'll work something out. Document everything. This is where that is. Document everything. So if you scrape the interest off the top, document it. If you're going to do it every year, write it up, write a quick policy and just have it. If you're going to do it every month, every quarter, whatever, it's not going to be much, and just so don't plan on living on it. But yeah, I wouldn't just give it to the bank. I have an issue with that. They're just giving it to them in a non-interest bearing account. At least I want a little piece of all that they're making with it. All right. Moving through into maintenance. So we kind of talked about this already. Make it easy for them to report. Encourage them to do quick reporting. 24-hour, access. You want to be on it in a hurry. Have a contractor, have an emergency response company that you've already talked to if you can. Because if it's water flooding in the house, the sooner you stop it, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Yes, insurance. You have to cover insurance. You have to have insurance on these properties, and you want to have enough to take care of completely rebuilding the property. But just getting to these little things will help you not have a big loss and keep those tenants in there. Okay. The landlord special repairs. Has anybody seen that before? I know we bought those landlord special repairs. Get a contractor that takes pride in their work and will actually, just painting over everything. That's not it. Okay. Like, take the light switch plates off. Don't just paint over the whole thing. Okay. When you do a turn, make sure it's all safe, secure. You want windows to open and lock, close, open and then lock when they're closed. You want to make sure it's safe, right? No tripping hazards. You want to have the carbon monoxide and the fire detectors, all of that there. And then, of course, follow that fair housing standards. If you need to know what those are, you can look them up online. Pretty easy to Google that. Okay. All right. Are y'all cool with the basics? These are kind of the standard things to go through. I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between self and professional management. So, self-management, it requires your time. So just be aware. Just kind of quick story. We used to manage, Michelle and I, we managed our own properties until we had five, and then we bought a 5 unit. So we went from 5 to 10. And at 5, we were already like, we're done with this. This sucks. I'm tired of them calling me. Why am I unplugging toilets? I had mamas calling me because there's ants in their kid's car because he parked in the middle of the front yard with like 7 Mountain Dew bottles in his front seat. I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? Right? So, y'all, I'm sorry, I'm venting on you guys on this one. But anyway, like, that's what it takes to be a property manager. Now, if I was a better property manager, I would have set up some barriers there and I wouldn't have had mama call me at all. But anyway, it can get emotional. You might be emotional about your property. We just talked about this $200,000 asset that you've given to somebody. And if they go tear it up, you might get pissed off, right? And you might be okay like that. You might deserve to be pissed off. Well, if they're late on your rent, you can't be emotional about it. If they give you a sob story, you can't be emotional about it. It's got to be a business. You can't bend the rules. Yeah. The last slide. Safe, secure, and follow fair housing. Understand the legal ramifications of violating any of those laws. Okay, so if you're going to do this self-management, just know what you're getting into. Cover yourself with insurance, liability, and your company, right? Umbrella policy for yourself. All right, and then the Fair Housing Act. I keep talking about it. You need to know it. Versus using a professional, asset protection. Again, when you use a professional, now you get to step out of day to day. operations, and you can focus on protecting your assets. Okay, you can focus on the big pieces of that. Liability of the management. So when you manage it yourself, if you get sued, who gets sued? You and who else? Yeah, just you. It's just you. If you have a property manager and you get sued, who else is coming with you? Property manager. Guess what they have? Errors and omissions, insurance. And guess what insurance throws at them? Another attorney, right? So you have a buffer, you have a barrier. So if there's a management issue, like a mistake or something happened, not the house falling in on them, right? That's an asset thing. But if it's a management thing, you have someone else that's liable, okay? Proper paperwork and communication. The professionals are used to this. They know what paperwork. They know how to fill it out and how to communicate. The cost, there is a cost. Usually 10%-ish. It could be 6. It could be 15. I don't know. It could be 20, 25 for short-term rentals, right? There's a cost when you use a professional. Is there a cost when you do it yourself? Yes? We all agree? I love y'all are so smart. Man, y'all are good. Yes, there's a cost when you do it yourself. Time, energy, and you're probably not as good at it as a professional that does it every single day with hundreds of units. So there's a cost. Is it 10%? In my case, absolutely it was 10. It was more than 10% for me to do it myself. I was definitely paying more than that. Oh yeah, cost of one lawsuit, one bad tenant, a vacancy for a month, that 10% is already paid for itself. Okay. When you use a professional, who gets the freedom? You do. Yeah. Who has to deal with day-to-day operations and 24/7 maintenance calls? They do. Let the professional do that. That's what pushed us over, Michelle and I, because the kids were wee bitty back then. There they were. And this is probably the number one reason today to stay there for us is that we can focus on our business. We can focus on growth and adding more units to that portfolio. Okay. We can focus on the other businesses that need more support. Okay. Other than worrying about getting the maintenance calls, getting the paperwork correct. Okay. So focus on the other pieces and parts of the business. So 2 quick slides, I think, on how to find a good property management. We have a couple people in here, but who has experience in the market? Yes, they need a license, a certification. Okay. Do they have technology and the services for your tenants and for you as an owner? Very, very important. For me as the owner, and I'll give you a list of some of the reports here in a second. The technology is huge. I want to be able to log in and see what rent came in and what expenses were paid out. Get referrals, get testimonials. Find somebody that's used them. In this community, you can ask the question. And you want to make sure that they are better at this than you are. We see this a lot, and I do say this a lot in this community and in other communities, but we get together with like, hey, I'm new at this. You're new at this. Like, we should be friends and do this together. How about you manage the property and I'll find another one? Yeah, that's not a good property manager. You don't want somebody that's at the same level as you. Get a professional, okay? Find somebody that's done it, that has multiple units under their belt. Oh man, that's small. I don't know if you can read that. It's kind of, it goes through some of the same things. Management company that specializes in those types of assets. If you have a short-term rental, get a property manager that specializes in short-term rental. Student rental property manager. Okay. Near Fort Jackson, there might be one that specializes in Fort Jackson. All right. So look for managers that specialize in that area. Ask them. You want to make sure you ask them, what are their fees? What are the leasing fees, turn fees? What do they charge to put a new tenant in? Do those charges match up with your with your business, right? Does that match up with where you want to go? Payments, how do they report payments? How do they send you payments? And then this is where the reports I was talking about. You want to make sure you get a profit and loss statement every month from your property manager. You want to make sure you get a maintenance report. So, hey, this is what we spent. This is the maintenance issue. This maintenance issue has been going on for 6 months. Those are things you want to know, because as the as the owner, you want to be able to fix those things. Yeah. Yeah, for tax reporting, you'd want it at the end of the year for sure. Monthly, you want to do it because you are watching. If you have a professional property manager running it, remember, you are stepping out and you're now managing your asset. You want to make sure it's getting better. Debts being paid down. Maintenance issues are being taken care of. The property values going up. Okay. Report showing how many applications are coming in. If your property manager is managing 300 units and they had 0 applications last month, do you think that's a good sign? That's a bad sign. Because if yours goes vacant this month and they had 0 last month, how are they going to fill yours? You want a property manager that has a pipeline, okay? Ask them, check their website. How are they getting applications? And then any vacant units. If you have anything that's vacant, you want to know what's going on with that vacancy, okay? So the biggest thing for hiring, the biggest reason to go find a professional property manager, if you're not going to make this your job and you're going to be professional at it, let someone else do it so that you can focus on the investment, not the day-to-day management. Does that make sense? That's our personal motto for that. That's how we came through that from all the years of doing it ourselves and seeing other people do it themselves, and then just looking back and seeing how much better the properties have done now that there's professionals in charge. Okay? So I know we're running long, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to kind of break, and if you have questions, we'll jump on it. But always remember, and this is the key to your success in rental property, if you're going to manage it, hire someone to manage it, you're going to buy more, sell more. The key is to keep educating yourself. Okay? Some of you are like blown away by the fact that you can charge extra fees. Now that is huge for your asset value. Okay? Keep educating yourself. Come into rooms like this, getting to connect with others, doing the boot camps or the weekend trainings that we do, the online trainings. Keep educating yourself so you can build your net worth, so you can build your cash flow monthly. All right, so I always like to ask you, what is next for y'all? What is next for you individually, as your business, as your family, as your company? Okay, what's next for you? I don't know. Like standing here, I know some of you what's next, but I don't know what everybody has coming up next. And if you want help with that, if you want to talk through what your next step might be, what your strategy could be based on where you are today, what resources you have today, what's available today, just scan that or go to that website. I love to chat with you about it. Typically, a strategy call takes us about 15 or 20 minutes, and we just talk about where you are today, where you want to be, and is there something that we can help you with in our community. All right. So as far as property management, y'all, that is all I have for today. Thank you for sticking with me, because I know that was a lot. Did anybody get value out of that? Yes. Good. Y'all have any questions on that? Any questions on property management? No? That means I covered it all? That's awesome. Hey guys, I saw some of you like eyes light up. I know that there's some new stuff out there for you. Just remember that you're not going to know it all today. You've got to keep educating yourself, keep learning, keep getting plugged in, and keep plugging away, because the only way you lose in real estate is to get out too soon. All right? So go get that next deal. We'll see you at Coffee and Cash Flow on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.